So many people on today.
Fantastic.
Have to say, we've been totally oversubscribed. I think we upped the limit on subscription, hoping some people probably aren't going to turn up. So it might be that we hit the 100 mark and a few people are disappointed, but hey, you never know. So this session is being recorded, so we will share the link afterwards as well. But yeah, just a huge welcome from myself. I'm Paddy, Dhanda, and I'm going to be in the background today with my awesome co-host, Grant. Grant, over to you very quickly.
Hi, everyone. So I won't talk too much about myself. I want to talk about our guests. So I'm trying to remember how I managed to convince you to join, Ben. I think I might have just sent you a speculative begging email or something, I think, and just and fortunately Ben was kind enough to say he'd do it. I mean, I'd been following Ben's work. I didn't realise, Ben, that Ben Crothers and Presto Sketching were the same thing at first. I was watching you on Instagram and seeing the both profiles, but yeah, Ben's just got some fantastic content out there. He's got his book, Presto Sketching. He's going to talk to us today about using metaphors to reframe problems. I can't believe how well prepared Ben is for this session with all the thought that's gone into it. I don't want to oversell it, Ben, but I've seen the script and I'm really looking forward to this session. So I'll hand over to Ben and let him introduce himself properly, and I'll stop embarrassing him.
I'll just spotlight you, Ben, as well. There we go. So everyone can see you.
Thank you. Thanks, Paddy. Thanks, Grant. Thanks so much for having me. And thank you, everyone, for coming along to this meetup. Good evening, good morning, whatever time of the day or night it is for you. It's stupidly early here in Sydney, Australia. I'm not used to being up this early. I used to be when I had little kids. Hi to the little kids there. Hello. And as Grant said, I think for a lot of us, we follow each other and our work online, don't we? And I think we're all an inspiration to each other. And I've certainly gained a lot of inspiration from people here right now, like Mike Rohde and Everlotta Lamb, and I can see some other familiar names as well. And I think it's such a great way to get the tribe together. So thanks, guys, for hosting this meetup. That's really cool. Visual metaphors, I'm such a nerd for visual metaphors. I think some people think, oh man, didn't we kind of do that already? But for me, there's always more to learn. There's always more to use. And so I'm looking forward to getting into visual metaphors with you. Yes, there will be drawing. I'm assuming you've got something to draw with and draw on. I'm going to be sharing my iPad in a minute. But before we do that, lads, should we do the warm-up activity? Should we get into the snails warm-up activity? Okay, let's do that. Now, have a look at the Miro board that you had before. You'll see the map. Now, if you pan over a bit, you should see there's something at the top there that says snails activity. This is just a quick activity for us to do to warm up, and snails is just, it stands for, it's a way to, sorry, bear with me, early in the morning, coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Snails stands for shape, number, angle, identity, line and size, and what it is, it's just a fun way to help us be a bit more creative with what we draw. And so here's a real quick warm-up for you. There's a list of words here: diamond, computer, warning, news, dinner, vine, thought, fish, coffee and pizza. What I'd like you to do is just pick one. You only have to pick one. It's not like you have to come up with something for all of them, although that would be amazing. Just pick one, get a fresh piece of paper and or your tablet, and draw whatever that thing is in the middle. And then what I want you to do is explore that drawing and draw it again thinking about each of these things. So when it comes to the number, how can you draw it where you're sort of focusing on the number, like lots and lots of the things, or maybe cut up, something like that. Angle, number, angle. Can you draw it in a different way to show it from a different angle? Identity, what would it be like if you put a face on it? What character does it have? What does it look like? Line, this is a really interesting one. Play with the line. Often when we draw, we just sort of default into one way of drawing. Mix it up a bit, experiment. Try drawing maybe a really light, feathery line, or multiple lines, or parallel lines, or barbed wire, or fluffy lines. So play with the line. And then size. I'm a big fan of things that are like jumbo or mini. What would that thing look like if it were tiny or big? And lastly, shape. Did I say shape before? It is early, but play with the shape of it in some way. No right or wrong. Have a crack. How long should we give them? About 5 minutes? Should we do that for 5 minutes?
Yeah,
yep.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. I am going to start a timer. Everyone have fun with it. As I said, there's no right or wrong. As you can see, there's a great example that someone has already put on the board there with a computer. So you can see how for each of the things, there's shape, number, angle, identity, line, and size. That's a nice example there. And there's an example there of fish as well. All right, time starts now. 5 minutes and go.
I'll put a clock on the Miro board as well, Ben, so it's visible just in case anyone wants to see.
What a great idea. That's good. Oh, thanks, Paddy. And don't worry, you don't have to share what you draw. But if you're keen, it'd be fantastic to see what you're drawing. So once you're done, and if you have time, you can upload an image of what you've drawn to the Miro board here. And that way we can have a bit of fun and inspire each other with what we're drawing.
Paddy, surely we should be listening to Bhangra while we're drawing.
Oh, yeah. Go on then. Let me find a song.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. Let's see.
There we go. Sorry, I'm too busy joining in.
Can you hear that, Brent, or not? No,
I can't hear it, not
I'm
yet.
not sharing. Do you want to share my screen and then you'll hear it? Can you hear that now, right, Grant?
Yeah.
It's about.
Just about.
There we go.
Get it now?
Yep. A bit less than 2 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm going to play Indian music at the start of all my workshops now. It's so cool.
There's a bit of Beatles and Indian music mixed for you, just for you, Ben. Never been done before. Coming up to the half-minute mark. If you've already finished, be brave and upload what you've drawn to the Miro board here. We've got a new one there already, which is really, really cool. A worm. Isn't that amazing? It's so good, just the different ways of drawing a worm, just with those different prompts. And there are prizes later, right, Ben, when we do the next activity. So I won't spoil what you got, but yeah. There are indeed, there are prizes. Not for this one. This is just a fun warm up, but there's certainly prizes for the main event, all about visual metaphor. All right. Well, I hope you had fun with that. Hope that was fun. Okay. Shall we get into visual metaphors now? Sounds good. Sound good? Yes. All right. I'm seeing some thumbs up. I'm seeing some nods. Fantastic. Let me share my screen and away we go. There we go. Now, sorry while I have an awkward moment trying to turn all the other jazz off. You know how, what's the thing in Procreate where I can be changing layers and move things around and you don't see that? Because I thought I had that switched on. Can anyone help me out on that one?
You have to do it again. You have to switch it on again, because sometimes Procreate, really? Yeah, just switch it on and off, and then it should be fine.
Thank you. Oh, it's in preferences.
It's at preferences, yes.
Off, and then on again. Magic.
It is.
Not awkward at all. All right. What I want to do is talk about visual metaphor for framing problems and sometimes reframing problems. I should say too, I didn't really introduce myself well enough there before, only because I was still halfway through a cup of coffee here, really. I've been in the, I think, design space since the mid-90s and in the kind of facilitation and strategy space for about the last 15 years. But through all of that, I've always been drawing. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. I was definitely one of these kids that mucked up a lot of their textbooks at school by drawing in the margins, and it was always stick figures fighting and cutting heads off each other and skulls and flying around, and there was always a bit of red pen in there for blood. I used to, my friends and I, we used to do those things where we do the funny little animations with thumbing through the corners of textbooks. Did anyone else do that? Do kids still do that? I kind of hope they do. Like, that was so much fun. And we used to draw comics with each other as the main characters and stuff like that. So it's definitely in my blood. In fact, cut me and I'd probably bleed whiteboard marker ink, you know. And so I'm so big on drawing, as I know all of you here. But for me, it's definitely a language. It's a set of languages. And what we're doing here with visual metaphor is just one of those languages. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm more than happy. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook much these days. And I've heard of other things like that Clubhouse. It's a newfangled thing. Apparently you don't even see each other. You just listen and talk. I mean, what's that? Is that right? And if you want to follow Presto Sketching, there's the Presto Sketching tag on Twitter and Instagram as well. Every now and again, I kind of put content on there, just different ideas and tips and things like that. Now, when I say visual metaphor, what am I talking about there? I think what we're doing is, as I said before, exploring how we can use metaphor as a language, a way to listen to people when they're kind of talking to us, and then to reflect that and express that as well. And especially with problems, it's very good for shared alignment and understanding. And as I mentioned before, I'm coming from the design space, so I'm kind of used to teams talking about business goals and opportunities and business problems, customer problems, solutions, and then what solution do we choose and how do we know and what's the risk and what's our confidence level and how do we execute, all of these sort of things. You can certainly apply visual metaphor to a lot of these sort of things to get that clarity and shared understanding. But for me, if we can just get clear on what problem we're solving, for me, that is one of the biggest clarifiers for a team and a great way to galvanize a team. So that's why I'm kind of choosing to go for framing problems. Now, of course, I'm sure you guys already are quite well versed in this language of visual metaphor. So here's another quick drawing activity. I'll only give you a minute. You don't have to take very long. But try drawing these three things: idea, appointment, and goal. Try drawing those. And again, you don't have to share it on the Miro board or anything like that. But yeah, just draw idea, appointment, and goal. Idea, appointment, and goal. Okay, now maybe for idea, you drew a good old light bulb. Show of hands, anyone draw a light bulb? Yeah, right. Or maybe you did like a thought bubble with a person. So the thing is, we have this vast library of visual metaphors in our brains. And that's kind of like this collective shared library. And some are just so ingrained that it means that we can all look at something and pretty much infer the same thing. What about appointment? Does anyone want to be brave and hold up to the camera what they drew for appointment? Anything there? What do we got? Right. Yeah, we've got calendars, and especially on the calendar. In fact, I might just sort of copy something I'm seeing briefly here. We've got a nice sort of calendar icon and perhaps sort of a blocked in square there. Yeah, right. So it's funny. Metaphors are great at giving us, thanks very much for that, Metaphors are great at giving us a way to express the intangible, the abstract. Like, I can't pick up and pat an appointment, can I? But what we've done is we've attributed a real world thing, a calendar, into that word appointment. And now goal is very interesting. And here's where it'd be really, really cool if you could, if you're brave, hold up what you've drawn for the goal, but also keep it steady, and then take a look at what others have drawn as well. This is awesome. A few more, can we see a few more? And have a look at what others have drawn. I'm seeing a great variety here. All right, now as we do that, does anyone want to jump on maybe in the chat, or just take yourself off mute and offer an answer? What's something you noticed about goal there? Anyone?
Sense of arrival, Ben. At least for me, I drew someone standing on top of a mountain, so you're sort of achieving a goal. Maybe that's too big though, right? What if it's a small goal?
Right. So there's someone standing at the top of the mountain. Some of them were sort of sport oriented, like we saw football goals, soccer goals. We saw a trophy. I think there was a flag on a mountain, a target, and there's someone has said, Neil has said sport, and Shahzad has said, yeah, they're so different. Isn't that funny? So for some things, unlike the idea in the light bulb, we have a lot of variety. Thanks very much for those who held what they drew up. It's always cool to see what people drew. So, so yes, there's sometimes a lot of variety in what we can draw when we show visual metaphor. And what this does is it reveals a certain point of view and a certain nuance to the understanding of what that might be. Now, I say that for two things. One, it's really good to find out what do people mean when they use particular words. Another little activity that I often do with teams is to say, hey, draw what you think of when you think of customer. And you get the same sort of thing. You get a variety of pictures being drawn because it shows different perceptions and perspectives. The same word, customer, multiple perspectives. And so metaphor in general, and visual metaphor, is a great way of showing that specificity and nuance. So that's one thing. But the other thing is we can build on the metaphor. So for those who drew a target, I'm not sure if you meant this, but there's a nuance there around accuracy, isn't there? So hands up who drew a target. Cool. For those who drew a target, did you have an arrow? Yeah. And where was the arrow?
In center. In the center.
No rude gestures, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's in the center, isn't it?
That is in my background.
Because there's this thing around, well, the goal, it's not just to, hit maybe here on the periphery of a target, is it? It's the center. So the goal is accuracy. Sometimes the goal is getting to the end of a journey. Sometimes the goal is speed or achievement. And so think about the sort of metaphors that you're using and what you kind of mean by them. And one great thing to do when doing this with others is to build on it and start to kind of use a different layer of meaning. For example, say I could say, look, ladies and gentlemen of the board, last quarter's financial results show that, although our target was, I don't know, 8 million revenue, we only made, I don't know, 5.6 million. Shocking. I know. So for the next 2 quarters, it's all about, metaphorically, getting that arrow to the center of the target. How might we move our arrow? And we say it when we say moving the dial, don't we? And metaphors abound in cliches. I don't know if people say this where you work. I certainly work with a lot of teams, and I often hear people saying, oh, you know, we've got to move the dial, move the needle, you know, and draw it. Say, cool, where's the needle now? And then they will look at you strangely. After they get over that, they can say, well, where's the needle now? Well, okay, maybe it's sort of here. Where do you want it to be? Oh, well, you know, we want the needle to be here. And then you can start to sort of have this more structured, intentional, visual conversation to say, great, how are we going to move it around? What are the steps along the way? How do we measure it? What's the baseline? Blah, 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 blah. And what you're doing is you're now imprinting a conversation onto a picture. That picture then gets encoded in people's heads and it becomes more memorable, and away you go. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so I'll stop, but I hope you sort of get the point there. So metaphors are a way of understanding and explaining new concepts, unfamiliar concepts, abstract concepts, by relating them to familiar concepts. Sometimes it indicates a certain point of view or a perspective. For me, I find that really interesting. You find that coming out in people's language. You know, hey, can you do a thing for me? Oh, I'm swamped. You know, swamped is a metaphor. Or even the language sometimes, I'm thinking at work, we talk about arguments, like he attacked me with his words. I don't have a leg to stand on. These are just cliches. We're so used to hearing them. Listen for the metaphors and then draw them, and it shows a point of view, and it can be worthwhile relaying that to the person to then help them understand the problem and the situation. And so related to that, we can certainly harness them for explaining these concepts and enriching our own mental models of what that problem space is doing. Now, mental models might be a trigger word for some of you, I'm not sure. A little bit nerdy now. Maybe some of you will find this interesting. I certainly do, but bear with me. So we have the world, and we have you. You know, so here's me, here's you, here's Paddy, here's Grant, and you know, our brains. I wish they weren't optimized this way, but our brains are optimized for efficiency, not accuracy. You know. Our brains are lazy, and they're always trying to find ways of economizing and making patterns and making stuff up, filling in gaps. And that's what we're doing when we're interpreting the world around us. Excuse me, we build up these mental models. For example, planes. It's been a long time since I've been on a plane, but if I think of a plane, my mental model, it's a bit like this. I tend to be down the back. It's a tube full of seats. I know that there's people up the front in first class. They've got nicer food and real cutlery. And in the meantime, us back here in cattle class, we've got this weird theatre going on where, you know, all in the name of security, we have to eat with tiny plastic forks and spoons and so on. And how does a plane work? I don't know. It's magic. I just don't know. Whereas, you know, Paddy, for example, he might be an aeronautical engineer. He has a much richer mental model in his head about how a plane might work. You see what I mean? So it's all about the information that we take in, what we learn, and our experience. Now I say that because normally, we all work with people who perhaps aren't as visually expressive as we are. They tend to express themselves in other ways, like words and conversations, PowerPoint presentations, emails, sometimes spreadsheets, task boards, flow diagrams perhaps, but all of these things are just expressions of their own mental models. And what I really want to impress upon you this evening, today, is we can use visual metaphor to sort of flip that back, not to coerce maybe not even to change their minds sometimes, but just enrich their own mental models of how the world works. That's what I find so fascinating. Now we see visual metaphors all the time. I've already mentioned in our speech. You certainly see them a lot in editorial illustration. I saw this one the other day by Robert Neubecker, a great illustrator. Can you see what's going on here? He's used the notion of pay and money as a metaphor over legs, because there's research out there that tries to counter this belief that you know, you don't have to pay people as much money and still get great performance. Well, it turns out that better pay means better business performance. And I just really like how Robert has used dollars as legs and showing the longer legs and longer strides. It's quite witty. And of course, we see it in advertising. Now, I didn't even know that Patex was a brand of this thing. Does anyone want to offer us? You may already know what Patex is, but does anyone want to offer what Patex is? What sort of product is it?
Glue.
It's glue. Yeah. So we've got this dude in yellow underpants. We've got this dude, and he doesn't have a head, but he's got the screw cap of glue. So what's this ad trying to say? Does anyone want to suggest something?
The super strong glue.
That's right. Yeah. The super strong glue. Patex is the strongest glue. So
and yellow in the inside for real.
Right. And so the advertisers here have used the metaphor of a strong man to associate with the meaning of strength for their glue. So we see this all the time in advertising. And of course, we see it in our own work as visual facilitators and practitioners, don't we? Someone mentioned before the metaphor of the mountain and journey, and they come in very handy when we're trying to help a team structure a conversation. So we're familiar with that sort of thing. Now, the thing is, sometimes we want to explain to stakeholders. Sometimes we want to persuade to stakeholders. And now we're going, whoa, Ben, it gets tricky here. I can't show it, strong man and say, see, glue. And we do it, and definitely other people around us do it. We try to sort of explain using regular business language, charts, emails, PowerPoint presentations. Nothing wrong with that. But we can certainly bring metaphor to that. And here's an example I wanted to show you quickly from a while ago. When I was working at Atlassian, an Australian software company, one of the big research results we found was that people found it hard to just start using Confluence, which is one of their products. It's like a wiki intranet software. And the results just weren't landing with the product managers. They just shrugged and just said, yeah, we knew that already. Oh, and if you're hearing shrieking in the background, that's cockatoos. Welcome to Australia. We get this a lot. And so I was kicking the research results around with the team, and I said, look, we've got to find a better way to express this to stakeholders and product managers. And of course, visual metaphor came to the rescue. And I said, so, what does it feel like when you're using Confluence? And we looked at the results and the what people who we interviewed said, and it really came out like this. It's like, I know what I want to do. Like, I want to centralize my documents. I want to do a knowledge base. I want to have an intranet, blah, 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 blah. But Confluence is just talking in these other terms that I just don't understand. And a metaphor emerged of a conversation. And it's like, the new Confluence user was trying to have a conversation with Confluence, and it was getting nowhere. Now, can you see visually, we render this, in the kind of expression. And you'll notice there's an ever so subtle expression on the face of the screen. I'm a big fan of putting faces on inanimate objects. Notice the kind of organic curvy lines here and the rigid angular lines. Notice the different fonts and so on. And so this was a way to sort of show that they weren't talking together properly. And another insight that came out was that one person might start using Confluence and they want the rest of the team to come and use it. And from memory, one of the research participants, we said, well, what's it like when you come to something and you can't use it? And someone in the team said, oh, it's like you want to use a swimming pool but there's no water. And we went, that's right, that's what it feels like. And so we sketched a few things, and this is what came up, and we've got a pool here with no water. We've got Dad here, he's looking a bit sort of slightly guilty, or maybe that's just me imprinting my own dad guilt on a character here, because Mum over here, she's not that impressed. And the poor kids, look at him, Now, what happened was when we showed these to the whole development team, it really landed with them. It really hit them. And so, yes, it helped them to empathize more with the customers and what they were going through. But because it was so visually evocative, it just let the truth land deeper with them. And they ended up printed these things out at A1 size and had them up around the office. Yeah. So there's that. Was that a question I heard, or was that just me echoing? Might have been me echoing. Now, you might be thinking, look, Ben, that's lovely, but how do I come up with a metaphor? And here's where I want to give you guys a turn. In a few minutes, we'll break out into breakout groups, and you'll get to do that with each other. Let me talk you through that. But what I'll do is I'll do a demo first of a method that I use, and then I'll flick it over to you guys, and you've got 20 to 25 minutes to have a go at it yourselves. All right, so, and yes, as Paddy said, there will be prizes at the end. So have a good red hot go at it, and use each other in your breakout group, use your creativity, and at the end of the activity, do please make sure that you can upload what you drew onto the Miro board, because we'll pick 3 sort of runner-ups that are like really impressive and insightful, and then 1 main winner. So we've got four prizes. I'm a designer, I can't count. Okay, all right, so how do we do it? 4 steps. I'll say them, then I'll dig into them. First of all, you've got to distill the message. You've got to get clear on what it is you're actually trying to say. And then, so you write that out, and then you pick out the keywords. What are the phrases that mean the most, that resonate the most? You sketch images based on those phrases, independent of each other. And here's where it's great when you get to sort of do this as a group of people, because then you can share what you've all drawn, cross-pollinate, because that often gives you other ideas, and then you pick the best ones and bring them together. So let's look at that step by step. So firstly, as I said, you distill the message. Now, I'm going to use this as an example. Emergency healthcare is in crisis. The influx of patients is climbing, and medical staff are underfunded and overwhelmed. That's certainly the case in a lot of countries. So if that's our problem statement, if you want to call it that, what do we do next? Well, we pick out the keywords. What are the things that resonate the most? Now, to me, this part, the influx of patients is climbing. That's sort of conjuring up images in my head. And medical staff are underfunded and overwhelmed. So there's these sort of 3 main concepts going on. So you do that. And then step 3 is you pull the statement apart, and for each of those statements that resonated with you, He then sketched different images to reflect those words. And so how do you do that? Here's a tip. 3 questions you can ask yourself. You play human thesaurus, like what other words describe this? So I might say influx, flow, torrent, tide. And given the context here, with emergency healthcare being in crisis and so many patients, and the thing is climbing, like there's this thing of like rising torrent. So I'm just playing thesaurus there. Underfunded. Sometimes you find a lot of business language is starved of all meaning, and it's very bloodless, clinical, fluffy language. Sometimes this is really good just to bring life back into the words themselves. So yeah, what other words describe this? Where else in the world do we see this? That was the question I asked the team when we were looking at that Confluence research results. How did it feel to come to Confluence and find nothing there to use? So where in the world do we see this? And thirdly, how does it feel? You know, how does it feel for the people experiencing the problem? How does it feel for you? And so these sort of questions can help trigger more ideas for what we might draw. And so then we kind of draw different things. So for a tide, you know, I'm thinking of water, maybe like too much of it just coming at medical staff. And the medical staff themselves, they're starved, so they might look emaciated, thin, and they're both looking unhappy. And then what you do is you pick the best ones. It could be just yours. It could be looking at other drawings from a group, like what you're about to do. And you draw something that is a composite of all of those. So I might, just to keep it really simple, I might say, well, we've got lots of sort of sad, sick people. There's lots and lots and lots of them coming in, and it's kind of in the shape of a wave. You get the idea? All these sort of sad people, and it's coming in sort of crashing on top of these medical staff who are sort of starved and underfunded and overwhelmed. Now, when we visualize these things, what we're looking for is insight. And I might go, well, my insight here is both are unhappy, and with these overworked medical staff, they end up, you know, having poorer health. And so there's almost like there's this horrible sort of cycle going on. Like this wave is crashing down on the medical staff, and they're becoming part of the people who are unwell. And so that might be a rich insight that we happen to discover through visual exploration. And that's where the reframing can come in, giving us a new perspective. And that can then unlock new solutions. And so we think, well, if it's all about this massive torrent coming at us, maybe triage is a problem. Maybe we need a way to sort of filter the torrent to come in a more controllable, beneficial way. All right, I hope that makes sense. So that's what you're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go off to breakout groups. Now, given time, I might sort of make this 20 minutes together. So there's, on the Miro board, you'll find there's instructions to use. So have a look over at the Miro board. In fact, I'll stop my sharing at this point. If you have a look at the Miro board, where it says visual problems activity, there's instructions in that black panel there. It's largely what I was taking you through here, but in a moment, the lads are going to kick you all out into breakout rooms, and you're going to have that magical experience of popping into a new room with a mystery set of people. good luck. So first of all, introduce yourselves and just quickly agree on what problem statement you'd like to tackle. Now there's 4 example problem statements below. Time being what it is, I'm not going to read them all out, but there's a little bit of a variety of problem statements. So once you introduce yourselves, take a minute to read through those and try to quickly agree on what problem that you're going to tackle together. And then follow that 4-step process. It's already written out. Look at what are the key concepts, like the main words that are popping out for you. Spend 5 minutes just visually brainstorming individually. Just draw each concept separately. You don't have to draw it all together, just separately. Spend 5 minutes sharing what you came up with together. And then a few minutes just to then draw one main image of what you think really metaphorically captures that problem. Total bonus if you manage to extract some kind of insight. And finally, share what you drew as a group and then upload a picture of it. And as I mentioned, there will be prizes at the end. But hey, we're not doing this for the prizes, are we? We're doing it for the, for the fun of drawing together and the revelation that it is of drawing visual metaphors. So there you go. All right, now I make it nearly at the hour. It's 6:57 my time. Let's come back at just before 20 past the hour. Is that right, Grant and Paddy?
Yep, sounds good. I'll put a clock on the Miro board as well, so it'll count down to about 20 minutes.
Excellent. All right. Thank
Ben,
you, everyone.
in terms of numbers of people in each breakout, shall I put it, what, about 5 or 6 or? Yeah, why not? 5 or 6, yeah. Yep. Otherwise, I think there'll be thousands of breakout rooms. Yeah, 5 or 6 is fine. Awesome. Okay, folks, I'm gonna put you in your breakouts.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, good point.
Speak now. I'll certainly keep an eye on chat here too.
I put it in the chat, but I don't think anybody saw it. How do we, when we share, how do we make a composite of people's drawings? Does one person redraw everybody's?
Oh no, draw your own. Yeah, so have a look at what everyone has done. And kind of steal ideas from each other, and then just draw your own. Yeah. So what you draw at the end may well be completely different to what someone else draws. Yeah.
Okay. So the breakout, we're basically looking at each other's drawings in the breakout and picking and choosing what we like best of everybody's ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that way we get to see, hopefully, different people's perspectives on that problem statement.
Okay, thanks.
Great question, though. Good to clarify. Any other questions? All right. Have fun with it, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you on the flip side. Awesome. 20 minutes time and go.
And Ben and Grant, you might get thrown into a breakout as well, but yeah, feel free to jump back out if you want to. So I'll just create them now. 1 second.
Thanks very much, Paddy.
No worries. Right. Here.
20 minutes goes so fast. Just spend a minute, finish what you're drawing, and if you want to, if you're brave, upload a picture of what you've drawn into the space for the statement that you tackled. So what we're after is, I suppose, one sort of final drawing that captures each problem statement. So I'll give you a minute just to finish that off.
Ben, is there anywhere QR code so that we could upload a photograph taken by the smartphone?
That's a lovely idea. Paddy, over to you.
So I'm not that much of a whiz, I'm afraid, on Miro, but the way to that I've always done it is there's a little upload arrow on your little toolbar. So I put on the board a little screenshot of the arrow. If you click that upload tool, then you can pick a number of different ways you can upload. But I've typically just clicked on my device, and then it usually finds it in your gallery on your phone or your tablet.
That was throwing the hot potato.
I've drawn on my iPad, and I'm not connected with the Miro board from the iPad.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be stuck then, I guess, unless Ben, if we ask Helga to show it on the camera or something.
Well,
maybe.
Can you email it to Paddy, maybe?
And yeah, there you go. I'll put my email address in the chat.
Sign it.
Can you? Oh no. Oh, no, it's all right. Forget it.
Yeah.
It's fun to see everybody.
For those, because I know it's going to be much easier if we have it on the board, if that's okay. Because I'm just looking at the chat. So for others who are having issues, Paddy, can we just spam your inbox? Just send it.
Yeah, it's fine. Go for it.
To Paddy's email, and he's got his email address in the chat.
People could post to Twitter and use the hashtag the visual jam, and we'll be able to see them on Twitter if they're willing to share them publicly. A quick way of seeing them
out there in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone's got Twitter. Maybe for consistency, just email them to me for now, and then afterwards, yeah, it'd be great to see them on Twitter. I think, yeah, just otherwise we'll be looking in two places.
That's right.
Yeah, go on. You can spam me for today.
Our time being what it is.
Yeah. Do we want to? I'm just thinking to give people time to actually get it done and for Paddy to go through his emails. We were going to have a bit of a kind of reflection and a bit of a Q&A maybe. So I don't know, Ben, shall we open up to any questions maybe in the meantime?
Yeah, great idea. Great idea for any questions or observations that you've had.
Any questions for Ben?
Yeah, maybe I can have a question. Yeah, if I may. Yeah. Hi, Ben. Yeah, my question goes of the 4-step process, because it's like a procedure, but it goes freely. Like, for instance, what happened to me when I read the idea of the sentence of the COVID vaccine, the idea, sometimes when you underline the word that it's key to you, sometimes you just go, for instance, in that case, misinformation that refuses to go away. So, for instance, misinformation is a key word, but the idea of refuses to go away is like very visual by itself. So, for instance, I thought myself of an anvil with information, like really heavy. So it's like a free form procedure, because sometimes you have to just follow your heart. So it's like a good order, but sometimes if you find a word that resonates with you, you have to also try to go with it. That's how do you handle that? Because I imagine you use that 4-step process, but sometimes intuition goes in, and you just sometimes go with what you feel. How has changed that over time? I imagine you've had also that process from.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to call out. Thank you. Sometimes when we're visually exploring problems, like we will be hit by something. Oh, I'm hearing background.
Yeah. Let me just mute everyone.
Sorry to hear about that pain. That was bad.
Oh, Ben, you'll have to unmute yourself.
You muted Ben.
How rude. There we go. All right. Yeah. So if you are thinking about how it makes you feel, or how it makes people involved in the problem or affected by the problem feel, it's nice when, as you say, you came up with a metaphor. It's like an anvil. The weight of something, you know. And so I'd still be visually exploring that. So draw an anvil and someone under it, like struggling with the weight. So there's that. But then the reframing part, the unlocking a new solution, comes into saying, well, metaphorically then, what can we do to help this person? Because if they're struggling with something that they're not strong enough by themselves to lift, how do we metaphorically help them? Well, we can bring other metaphorical people in to lift it off, or a metaphorical crane and so on. So we can think of that like metaphorically, how to remove that weight. And then we can take that back to the real world to say, well, what's a real world equivalent of that? If people are struggling under the weight of the burden, how might we help those people? You know, or is there something that is already really strong at taking weights off that we're not using enough? You know, so that's a lovely kind of flip when you go from metaphorical problem, metaphorical solution, real world solution. I hope that helps.
Yeah, sharing the load, for instance, helping them or making them change about their views about that is not heavy, or maybe how to connect the dots of information to help them, you know, unveil something that is unknown to them. So thanks, Ben.
And
Hey, was that Yuri?
No, it was Satar. I was just trying to come in with a question on the back of that. I think one of the things I found helpful is to separate nouns from verbs. So there is the person who is, let's say, looked at in a certain way, and then there is the activity or the verb, you know, the stuff can't be moved away. And sometimes we tackle probably the verb rather than the noun, and that makes it easy. But it could also be the relationship. So it could be like Aikido, you know, where the guy thinks he's weak because he's seen as an opposing strength. But if he's thinking of using or leveraging the strength of what can't be moved, then in fact he can play a sort of judo or aikido. So maybe to separate the noun from the verb, and then the relationship between the two, all three could be different entry points.
That's right. That's right. Any questions? Anything that you've struggled with in the past that I might be able to help with?
Yeah, I have a question.
About drawing, yeah.
Yeah, it's more about. I thought 20 minutes would be pretty, you know, long, but I was struggling within this time frame to come up with a great metaphor, a great idea. Do you have any tips or tricks that we could use to do this under pressure, like we need it quickly, or?
Yeah. And I can certainly understand 20 minutes is like barely any time to do this in depth. I wanted to give you at least an experience of doing the method, and hopefully it's something that you can take on and try at another time. But in answer to your question, I think it's great to try to tackle it individually in your own time first, even if you sort of time box yourself to half an hour. How might I visually explore, visually pull apart this in terms of metaphors and then put it back together again? If you're doing it with a group, it might actually be handy to demonstrate the method and then let them do it individually, even just for 10 minutes. Not too long, because I think there's great value then in bringing them together and getting them to share their ideas. And then giving them another 10 minutes. So I think you'd still be amazed at what you can do in 30 minutes. I think definitely by the end of an hour, when you've seen what each other has drawn, cherry-picked what you like and created a new sort of a composite where each person does their own composite, and then come back and discuss metaphorically what you might do to fix that. all of that can be done in an hour, and that often unlocks some new perspectives and new solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. That's very helpful. Thanks.
I'm also aware of time. If anyone needs to jump off, because we're at half the hour, I wish you well. Thank you very much for your time, but I'm more than happy to stick around because I know we've still got some judging to do. Should we do some judging, gentlemen?
Yep, sounds good. I've had one file sent through email, so I've added that one onto the board. That was Katerina's. So yeah, we could go through the board. Ben, did you want to share? Oh yeah, there you go. Cool.
Way ahead of you, brother. All right, so let's have a look. And Paddy and Grant, do please feel free to take a look too and tell me which ones really stick out for you as well.
It's all on you, Ben. You get all the blame here. Don't put it on me. I think they're all cool. They're super cool.
I'm looking at the first problem statement. So the problem here
is it possible that you share your screen so we all can see, or do we have to switch between Zoom and Miro now?
I can share from my side, Ben, if it's easier, so everyone can see the mirror board.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you share the screen, it'd be better for the replay viewers also.
Yeah, cool. I'll just do that, just so you're seeing the same screen. 1 second, Ben, sorry.
Sure thing.
There we go. Okay.
Everlotta, I can pick your style from a mile away.
I'm about to say the same thing.
Yeah, so you can see how each person has their own piece of the puzzle. And each piece has lines on it, but it's just not lining up well. And then the project manager is the one actually putting it all together again. So I like that because it's got the solution there.
That is cool.
It's run by Katerina. A similar idea where others are bringing fragments together into one picture. There's one of vaccine, but that's in the other one. I'm going to go down to the vaccines. And everyone, I hope you appreciate trying to sort of look at all of these sort of things and understand them and try to pick 4 winners in like a minute flat. It's rather a challenge. So please do be patient with me and patient with my final verdict, because as I mentioned before, for those who get prizes, that's great, and for those who don't get prizes, hey, we all win because we've all explored metaphors together. Did that make sense? He said trying to get himself off the hook here. I like there's this ring of people around a target, and there's the metaphorical use of a syringe actually injecting trust in. That's quite compelling. Poor old problem statement 3 didn't get any. And now I'm looking at problem statement 4. This is about, I suppose, siloed teams that aren't aligned and working well together. There's one with like there's different teams trying to get to an island where the customers are. Some are on a fish and some are on a boat and the compass is broken, and meanwhile the customers are on an island. That's very interesting because we've got this metaphor of being on an island and isolated. I think that's really compelling as well. I really dig that. And Grant and Paddy, any others stick out for you? I know I keep leaning on you guys.
Now, on the first one, that Lisa's one with the planet stood out for me.
Definitely, yes. Yeah,
Just
so we've got this
the
poor
idea
old
of
project manager on the
being
moon.
on physically different planets, and the project manager sat on the moon pondering it. I think that conjures up some interesting imagery.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, and it can sometimes feel that way, isn't it? And here's the one thing that I like, one of the many things I like about metaphors. Sometimes it's magic when you get to express emotion, but not with facial expressions. You get to express emotion with, you know, people being on different planets, you know, like that feels so isolating, or people on an island, that feels isolating. So there's great value in storytelling there. And yes, of course, it's great to show like the project manager, you know, looking confused. But the project manager could almost be faceless, and the story would still be told. Yeah, so that's very, very cool.
I was going to say, Ben, I really like this Cecil example here, where you've got the weight of the people, the majority who are saying we don't want it, and then you got kind of these guys on the left. So it's almost like a really simple way of depicting those that are in favor versus those that aren't.
Where's that one? Sorry, Paddy?
Sorry, that was on statement 2 on the right-hand side, the
2.
second one down on the very right.
Ah, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I don't want. Very much so. And it almost looks like the number of people is the same, but the weight of fake information and the weight of that reluctance is what's pulling it down. Yeah, that's very compelling as well. And
maybe the vaccine
I saw
makes
the
you
Andrew
lose
one
weight.
as well.
Hey Ben, maybe the vaccine makes you lose weight. Could be the other.
So maybe the vaccine makes you lose weight. Nice one. I like that. All right. So now we've got 3 runner-ups. And I'm not going to share my screen because there's just so much going on and I'm getting confused and it's still early in the morning. But I would say, look, first of all, huge thank you to all of you for turning up and bringing so much energy and creativity to this. And I know tech has its challenges with trying to bring your work into the one space. But well done with persevering on that and having fun with it. So I just wanted to say that. I'd say then we've got the 3 runner-ups. Definitely the scales. I really like that one. And the planets. I really like that one. And the one down the bottom for the problem statement 4, the customers being isolated on an island. I think that's quite clever. Now the runner-up prize, Paddy, what's our runner-up prize?
Oh, now you got me. It's
I can analog it.
The runner-up prize is
Drawify subscription, isn't it?
It's a Drawify subscription for 3 months free, drawify.com. And it's only very new. They're still, that's the one, they're still kind of working away on it. There are thousands, I tell you, thousands of drawings on there done by people just like you. And it's kind of sort of like other, you know, sites around there. What's different about this, why I like it, is that it's people's drawings. And so there's a whole lot more personality in them rather than things that are too slick or too much like every other kind of illustration style that you see. And it goes well beyond just plain icons. And plus there's a composer in there, so you can do your own compositions by pulling in several drawings. So I've been using that in my own work actually. So I've got, so for those 3, congratulations, you got 3 months free subscription to give Drawify a go. I hope you enjoy that.
Yeah, I've just said in the chat as well, Ben. So those 3 winners, hopefully you're still on. If you can email me directly, I'll put my email in the chat. Please be honest, and then we'll get those prizes over to you. If I have more than 3 come through, then I'll struggle, but we'll hopefully only 3 of you.
Yes, so well done for those 3. And for the grand winner, I really liked the people around the target injecting trust in. So who is that?
Oh, which board was that again? Was that the first?
That
board?
was for the vaccine.
That one there.
Oh, that was me. I think. Oh no, that's not me. No.
It was the second board.
The one with
the second
red
board.
target. People holding hands around the target with a syringe of trust being injected in.
Yes, that was me.
Oh, was you?
Yes, I thought you mean the one on the first. Yeah, it's not a clean drawing because yeah, we had to do it very quick. But it was actually a group composition.
Excellent.
Yeah,
and as we've seen, the drawing doesn't have to be clean or slick to get the idea across. It's so evocative, like this simple use of color, simple figures. It's using several metaphors together. Like I can count 4 metaphors right there as one. I just think that's quite clever. Like there's a lot of cleverness going on all over this board, and so it's very tough to choose. But it's just
we were 6 clever people.
Excellent. Well, so the main prize is your very own copy of the deluxe version of my ebook, 50 remote-friendly icebreakers. Again, we're going to analog it. So this is going to wing its way to you. It's 50 different kind of energizers and warm-ups and icebreakers that you can use in just about any meeting. It's something I'm really proud of. It was really fun putting this ebook together. So that is yours. And same thing, please do
Thank you.
Your email to Paddy there. And you are very welcome. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well done, Simone. Excellent.
I
Congratulations.
just want to interject. That is a wonderful book. Those 50 icebreakers is a wonderful book, and it helped my team get through COVID, especially in the beginning.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
It worked.
Wow!
Excellent.
Oh, thank you very, very much. By the way, I can't see who's saying any of these things, so thank you, whoever you are. That's really encouraging to hear. I'm glad. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Right, I'm just going to stop sharing. There you go, Ben. You get back on.
Much better. I can see people now. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being a part of this. As I said, I'm more than happy to hang around. If you have any other questions, anything else that I might be able to help with sketching, or growing pumpkins, or brewing beer. That's about the extent of my expertise these days, for some reason. But yeah, thank you again. Back to you, Grant and Paddy.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks. That was excellent. Really enjoyed that. Paddy, do you just want to give an update on the next session? And then for people who want to hang on and have a chat to Ben, that's...
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I do that, I guess just if you could all come off mute for a moment, just give Ben a huge round of applause, because he's been absolutely amazing at 6 a.m. in the morning, and he did say...
Thanks, everyone.
Tell us just before he joined the session that he was scared he was going to sleep in this morning, so he's been up since 3:30 worrying. So that's dedication.
We really appreciate it, Ben.
You're awesome, Ben. Thank you so much. So very quickly, folks, I'm I'm going to just put up one slide for you, just to let you know the next Visual Jam. We have the amazing Brandy Agabak.
Wow.
Sorry, Brandy, I mispronounced the name. And Brandy's going to be doing a session on her visual organization scale. So that's on the 14th of April. So we're really excited to have another awesome guest on the session. And then, Ben, maybe you can help me out. I know Scott Viz have got you booked as well for an event coming up. Do you remember the date of that one?
No, I don't.
Keep your eye out.
I was madly trying to check my inbox before and my calendar. I don't know. How unprofessional is that? But yes, it's coming up soon. It might be in April. And what I can tell you is it is kind of like part 2 for this, and it's a bit like the question someone asked before. It's getting more into, well, how do you then flip into the solution space? How do we try to solve problems metaphorically and then flip into then therefore how do we solve them with teams, with real things in the real world? And how do we do this as a team? So it's it's kind of leads on from what we've done in this activity, in this meetup. Yeah,
that was awesome.
Awesome. And just to say, we haven't actually advertised Brandy's event just yet, so that will hopefully be in the next week or two. But yeah, if you guys want to know more about Ben's kind of second session, then Scott Viz is the other awesome meetup on visual thinking. So Andy DeVale and the team will host Ben on that one. So do look out for that. And on that note, I think I'll let you all go. So thank you so much. Winners, please email me. Otherwise, there's no way of me knowing who you are. So we'll then get your prizes over to you.